Ready, set, draw!
Hey, this is Jacob jumping in here before the podcast kicks in to let you know that because we recorded right before the Upper Deck lawsuit announcement last week, we do discuss it at the beginning of this episode for a little bit. If that is old news to you and you'd like to skip that segment, just check the description or YouTube playbar chapters and scroll to the next segment of news. Thanks. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to Ready, Set, Live. This is Alex, and we have a good week of things going on, so we have a lot to talk about this week.
It's been a hectic week, like a whole bunch of things happening, whether it be,
Thank you, Ravensburger. Thank you, Lorcana team. Thank you, everybody, because you made
thank
this
the
podcast
Lorcana gods
more easy.
because we have some content to get into today.
We typically record on Mondays. That's kind of been the trend. I say trend. It's been 2 podcasts, but we've typically recorded on Monday, and we didn't this week. And boy, am I glad we didn't, because if we would have recorded this 3 days ago, we would have missed not only reveals, we would have missed big reveals.
Oh, yeah.
Big time reveals. So let's jump into the news. That's obviously what we're going to be leaning into anyway. So
Let's go
the
into
first bit of news
Lorcana
is something we
news.
missed last week. I put a little disclaimer at the beginning of the video for those of you who are watching on YouTube. The thing is, we recorded about 12 hours before the Ravensburger Upper Deck lawsuit stuff, and I think it's pretty much a dead horse at this point. I don't want to beat on it too much. I just think as a stance, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, but I feel like our stance as a channel is there's no reason to panic. Right?
I would agree with that, and especially I don't know about you guys. I know personally, I've read a lot into it. I've read the lawsuit. I read it front to back.
You read the whole
lawsuit because I was bored at work and I didn't have anything to do.
But you're not a lawyer. Let's clarify.
No, I'm
that.
not a
Okay.
lawyer, but I've read the whole thing, and then I also read some takes from some lawyers that have read the entire lawsuit as well.
Paul Lesko on Twitter.
Paul Lesko. There was another guy that I had looked at that I actually was very intrigued with his take. Some of the things that he said were very enlightening. I think this is a power play by Upper Deck to try and pull some leverage from Ravensburger. I think the reality of the situation, they waited too long. Ravensburger is too far in, and if they would have done something back when they found out everything back in April, it might have been a different story.
Okay.
We could have been seeing a very different scenario playing out right now.
Gotcha.
But because they didn't, the timing was horrible. Upper Deck waited way too long. The release is now too soon to have any sort of judge come in and be like, yeah, we're going to put a stop to everything. No, you cannot stop this ball from rolling. It is going to happen.
I think they kind of timed it well because I think they're just trying to get a payout. I think they're trying to say, hey, give us some money and we'll go away. But
yeah, the tricky part is they waited a while, right?
Oh yeah,
But they filed their thing as soon as they found out in April with the quick rules. They filed the first part of the process. So they filed it as soon as they found out. But
they filed their patent
that's
back
what I'm
in
saying.
April.
But
the problem is that
it's hard to file a
Lorcana
patent after someone's released information.
Lorcana filed their patent in 2021.
Yeah.
So filing their patent for Rush of Ichor, which that's the game that they're talking about.
I-Core is what the president of Upper Deck
I'm
called it.
I-Core, whatever. Anyway, but filing their patent so late actually took all of the steam out of their lawsuit. They ruined their own chances because they were already in the process of, according to them, they were already in the process of making this game back in 2018 and 2019. They should have filed those patents back then when they were talking about, the creation of this game all the way back then. If you had any sort of idea of what the gameplay was going to be at that point, file your patent.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's not a crazy ordeal. Ravensburger did it when they created Lorcana back in 2021 and then released more information in April of 2022. So
on this very unbiased Lorcana podcast,
Yeah.
we're for Team Lorcana. Sorry, Upper Deck. I appreciate other things you've done in the past, but
Sport stuff.
yeah, we're team. We're team
I also had a
Lorcana.
problem with
Not
some of
biased,
the
though.
things
Biased.
that they put in the lawsuit of like games, and I'm putting air quotes right now. You can't see it, but I am. Games that were successful by Upper Deck, and one of them was Yu-Gi-Oh! And they got sued by Konami
Yeah.
years ago to get the rights back from them because they were running it into the ground. Yeah, good job, Upper Deck. Good stuff.
All right. Well, sorry for the legal jargon here
Sorry.
from non-lawyer people, but we're going to get to the Ravensburger side of things. From Ravensburger, I think when that lawsuit stuff happened, everybody was wondering, well, what's their response? Well, they came back with a response, and it was pretty much, we did nothing wrong. We stand firm about it. This is baseless. Cool. Let's get back to Lorcana. And that's what we're going to do.
Amen.
So they've become way more active on social media. They have a new community manager, Storm Cossey, or at StormKRB on Twitter. She introduced herself on Discord. And then Steve Warner, the game designer, he started posting on Twitter again this week, asking, he had a cool Mushu gif that he's alive. Just, tasteful fun. But the cool thing that happened this week, as we've alluded to earlier, we got full card images of Iago and Timon, followed by another reveal of Genie in Emerald in all his glory. So that started the week. Genie, just to break it down here, because Iago and Timon was what we thought they were.
Yeah.
Everybody pretty much guessed what they are. Exert, give a character reckless until during their next turn. Timon, when it comes into play, it's a 1/2, it heals for 1. But Genie's something totally new. We've never seen a friend like him. So, Alex, you want to break down Genie for those listening? What does Genie do?
All right. For those that don't know, Genie is a 6 cost, uninkable, and we'll probably try to put an image on the screen if you are watching. So
For sure.
Genie on the job, like I said, 6 cost, uninkable. He's a 3/4, so 3 strength, 4 willpower. He's evasive, which is really good for Emerald to have.
Of course he is.
Something
He
to
has
deal
be.
with those pesky Pascals.
Yeah.
He quests for 2 lore, and his ability is disappear. When you play this character, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. So basically, he's a really big tempo play and can help bounce another character. And what's also cool is it's not opponent. It could be yours or it could be your opponent. So it's you
Flexibility
choose
there.
flexibility. So certain things like, I don't know, one of the decks that we play test with is with the steel deck. So having bouncing the Captain Hook back to your hand to play it to get your fire cannons back,
Yeah.
something like that could be cool. But he's very versatile, which I think a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about Emerald now that Genie's out is this kind of speaks to Lee Barb's kind of an early mailbag preview here. We're not going to cover this question in the mailbag because it pertains to this information directly. Lee Barb's on Twitter asked us in our mailbag section, what about Emerald excites you, or do you like the direction or not with this Genie reveal? Now, he didn't know that Beast was also going to be revealed. So, Anthony, do you want to show Beast before we dive into what Emerald has to offer now?
Okay, so Beast, it's a 5 cost, 4/4, rush, and its ability is Roar. When you play this character, exert all opposing damage to characters, and it's 2 lore.
So go ahead and read what Rush does as well.
Rush
For people that don't know.
says this character can challenge the turn they're played.
All right. So that covers the Emerald new cards. So to kind of dive into Lee Barb's question here, Emerald has shown to be, I think we would all agree, the control ability color. It reminds me personally a lot of blue in Magic. Not necessarily countering stuff, but bouncing, forcing people to do stuff, tapping them down or exerting them down.
The tempo
It's
player.
tempo player. So I personally, it's funny because I never considered myself a blue fan in Magic, a control-y fan in Magic, but Emerald has what I like. It's the kind of control that I like. It's tempo oriented. I'm going to do this in response to you. but I'm still playing things with initiative. I'm still doing things. I'm not just sitting back and saying no. I'm doing something in response to what you did, and making you answer me back.
Currently, a big difference between it and Magic is it's like creature control and board control more than like, we don't have instant speed counter spells or anything like that. And that's what typically gets the blue player not liked, because you can't play your cards at all. This is play your cards, but I'm going to do things about it. It's not, you can't play your cards at all. So I think it does make it more friendly to play.
Right. And from what I can tell, there's not much that you can't do anything on their turn.
Correct.
Right? So far.
Nothing.
It is completely a single turn by turn basis game, kind of like Hearthstone. Right. Hearthstone at least had secrets that would trigger on other people's on your turn if it was their secret, but that was always a conditional thing. It's like a triggered ability essentially that you're laying down as a trap.
It's kind of like the beast is mine card. Like you're putting an ability on theirs for their turn, but you play it on your turn.
You're influencing them, but not necessarily actively doing something on their turn.
Exactly.
And that creates trickiness too. They want the game to be more simple to understand. And the hardest thing, I don't know about y'all if you've ever tried to teach someone how to play Magic, the hardest thing in the world to teach someone to play in Magic are instant speed spells, because it requires them to understand what they should even respond to. So I commend Ravensburger for making a game that is turn by turn, but still having depth and complexity. So one thing about Lee Barb's question that I want to nail home, I think we all are in favor of green's direction, right?
Oh, for sure.
We like it.
I like green.
Something about
Emerald.
green now that we have these two cards, Genie and Beast Wolfsbane, we didn't have any top-end Emerald stuff before today. We had Lady Tremaine, but she was more of a, I'm going to grab this action back so I can get more value. And the most I could possibly do is what we hypothetically think or theoretically think is quest for 3, right?
Yes.
It's like a little lore clock, but it's a 1/5 body.
Is it
which
1/5?
It's 1/5.
Yeah.
It's not even
Golly.
imposing. It's just bad as far as stats go. So
It's not trading with much when they're attacking.
yeah, and that's what really
challenging it.
feels bad, because now for previous Emerald decks that you want to build, you pretty much have to supplement Emerald with something else that has heavy hitters, or
Like
you
red.
feel like like red, or you're building a deck that you feel like it just kind of falls by the wayside and it's really a little low on the curve without a bunch of heavy punches. A lot of weight was put on Cheshire Cat's shoulders in Emerald decks.
But the nice thing about getting the versatility is, with Genie could be a replacement in a lot of people's Emeralds decks for Lady Tremaine. However, Lady Tremaine will scale up and up and up the more action cards that come out. The better
for
the
sure.
action cards that you can get back, the better Lady Tremaine is.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the best thing about her. She may, with what we know now and what we have now, what's even in the first chapter, be kind of mid. But the longer the game goes, the more busted actions are going to come out.
for
And then people are going to be
sure.
like, Lady Tremaine used to be crap. And the next thing you know, holy cow,
Yeah.
Lady Tremaine is busted.
How many times have we seen in like the other TCGs we've played, you have an absolutely like middle of the road card, but then something synergizes with it, like this Yu-Gi-Oh! For anyone listening at home, what I'm talking about. A middle of the road, completely skippable trash card. Everyone looks at it and says, I would rather put this in my fireplace to keep warm at night rather than play it in my deck. And then something comes out 15 years later, and you're like, well, now I need 4 of them.
Yep.
I wish I wouldn't have burned it 15 years ago.
See,
Because-
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the only game that you only need 3 of.
Yeah. Well, I know Pokemon was like that, like in Expanded and stuff for older cards.
Oh,
Magic's
yeah.
like that with Commander. They come out with a super busted Commander, and you get a new card that synergizes with this new Commander, and you're like, well, that card went from $2 to $20 overnight because now it's not niche anymore. So
What's next?
what's next? All right, I'll go ahead and describe the easy one. We did get the last, I believe, of the animal companions of the 6 colors revealed. We also got a 1 inkable cost Dreamborn ally, Archimedes from Sword in the Stone. It's Archimedes, highly educated owl. He is much like pretty much like all of the 1 ink 2/2s. Aren't all the animal companions 1 ink 2/2s?
Yes.
Right? Or at least the
Stitch,
allies. at least.
Stitch, Archimedes.
Well, Stitch is a hero, but
Stitch is a hero, but he's still
maybe
the new dog.
Maybe Amber doesn't have their card just like this then, but I know Goons is a 1 cost ally 2/2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruby has Sergeant Tibbs, 1 cost ally 2/2.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all the other colors have them. Flounder is a 1-cost ally 2/2 for Sapphire. Steel, or I call it, we covered Steel for goons. Amethyst has Archimedes now.
Yeah, and then
Amber,
Amber was
I don't
supposed
know
to be
what it
technically
has.
Timon,
Just
No.
Timon's
but
a
he's not a
1/2.
2/2.
But he's not an
Yeah, he's not a
ally, I
2/2.
don't think. Well, I'm not sure. But regardless, Archimedes is a 1-cost 2/2 for 1 lore. It's proven to be a solid stat line, but not like, oh my gosh, I have to play this. And one thing that is a
Yes,
little
stitches.
frustrating is we have yet to see, much like Emerald, Amethyst has become like a supporting color because Amethyst has yet to get anything expensive to play. We've seen good cards in Amethyst, but they're all, what, 4 and lower? Do we even
5-drop with Jafar.
Jafar's a 4-drop.
Jafar's 4.
Yeah,
Mickey's a 4.
Mickey's a 4. I'm pretty sure 4 is the most expensive Amethyst.
Ah.
I'm sure anyone who in the comments who wants to correct us if we're wrong. At this point, on June 15th, we do not know of a more expensive Amethyst card than 4 cost. So that does bring us to our last of the reveals, the other Amethyst card. Tyler, what is it?
Oh, it's easily one of my favorite looking ones. It's Rafiki, Mysterious Sage. He's a Dreamborn Mentor Sorcerer. His strength is 3 and his willpower is 3. He is a 3 uninkable. His ability, or his keyword that he has on his, is Rush. This character can challenge the turn that they're played. He has 1 lore. I freaking love this card because it's the one keyword that I had not yet seen in Amethyst.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's plenty of keywords that have been floating around.
The
And
pocket watch gives
The
rush.
pocket- it gives
yeah,
Rush.
it gives
Yeah.
Rush, but it's not.
So it costs
it's-
1.
Yeah,
when
it's
you do
not. It's not a keyword that has been seen on an actual character yet
Mhm.
for
Yeah. To give
for
agency.
Amethyst. Yeah,
To immediate response.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I would consider any Rush character is pretty much like an action card
oh yeah,
because they at least have the ability to do something and remain around if they're removing something smaller.
which is something that we figured out, or at least played around with earlier today. When so me and Jacob actually got to play some games today, and that was one of the things that we played around with was some of these newer cards, and that it came up. I didn't think it was gonna come up, but having that one where you just have something that just pushes in a little bit, that
Mhm.
Rush definitely
Makes a
helps.
big deal.
It does.
Also makes you have to think about your plays a little bit more when you have rush, because
As a part of the game.
yeah, as a part of the game, you can't just freely, quest away and then
Mhm.
they have to play something and then they can hit me.
Yeah.
The rush actually makes you have to think a little bit more, which is nice for the back and forth.
I think one of the things we've gotten used to with our playtesting with these early reveals is there's not much responsiveness you have. That's the point you're
Yeah.
talking to. And so if your opponent has nothing on board, you feel completely safe. But that's starting to change. And I'm like,
for sure.
So this brings us to the next topic, and it's kind of the theme of the show. We decided to have some fun, and in the era of before we got card spoilers, we were thinking, let's make some cards of our own. There is a website, and I
Is
believe
vintage. I think it's vintageccg.com.
okay.
And
So
if you go to there's a tab on vintageccg.com where it is card creator, and just below that there's Disney Lorcana. You can make your own Disney Lorcana card from your favorite character, whether it be, I've seen a couple of them online where somebody made Darth Vader. Why would you do this? Because Star Wars is already being made into a card game.
yeah,
But yeah, so I've seen things like Star Wars. I've seen plenty of really interesting Disney characters that people have been using. But like Jacob was saying, we decided that we would have a little bit of fun this week, and we would create our own interesting Disney Lorcana cards.
Those for watching everything, you can actually see. I
Yeah.
think we're going to pop the images
Oh,
up.
for
We're all
sure.
going to have them created. So we're going to, this might be a time where you want to actually look
yeah.
at
Pull
the
up-
video.
Pull out the
if you
phone.
can.
Look if you can, so you can get a visual representation. I know I'm a visual learner. I like to see it in front of me. So one thing before we get started with our first round of cards, because each of us are going to go ahead and give one card to contribute, we want to do this in the context of kind of like an award show. We did not build or make these cards with these awards in mind. We just wanted to give you the chance to rate these cards or let you decide about the balance of these cards. So we will, after all said and done, nominate these ourselves, but then let you vote on Twitter and YouTube throughout the next week after you hear this episode. So the awards are most overpowered, most balanced, and best flavor. So with that being said,
Gotta love a good flavor win.
Anthony, how about you start us off with your first card?
Okay, so the card that I have is called Jafar. He's a 7-drop 5/7. Jafar, all powerful genie. He's a shift 5, and his ability is do as I say. When Jafar quests, exert and give reckless to up to 3 chosen characters. Then ready Jafar and gain reckless until end of turn.
Oh my God.
So the idea behind that is do as I say. So he's saying, hey, you 3 do my bidding, basically. And then, he's like, all right, well, since I've quested freely, I'm all powerful now. I'm going to do it too,
Yeah.
We're going to go all in on this, and he's also one lore.
Nice.
Okay.
That's nice.
So immediately with the strategy of that card, I'm seeing an opportunity.
There's that
to
big
start
bomb
clear-
you were talking about in Amazon.
Yeah, for real. I'm starting to see. We did say it was an amethyst card, right? Was that?
I did not say
Okay,
that.
well,
It's
it is an
amethyst card.
amethyst.
Oh, I'm looking at it.
7-drop.
It's purple, bro.
We're looking
It
at
is
right
purple.
now. So one thing I can think of with that card, the strategy of that would be, you're going to nail down some opponent's characters, and then you're going to smack them with a 5/7 body, but you're going to get some lore while doing so. So it seems like that's a pretty beefy card.
Yeah,
say
I
so
love
myself.
the
For sure.
shift being added onto that instead of it just being its own thing.
Oh
'cause
yeah.
I like the turn 4 to turn 5, but you're losing your challenger card
Mhm.
for it. But he's going to get that 5 strength anyway, so that's really
Yeah.
nice.
What
And
about
it
it? What about it being inkable? I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Is it being inkable?
Too strong. I think being inkable is a little strong, but I could buy it.
I
He's
mean,
an all powerful genie.
I mean,
I will say the one thing that it doesn't have going for it is for a 7-drop, it only
Mhm.
quests for 1 lore.
Yeah.
Of course, he's gonna, so it's whenever he quest, exert, and give reckless to up to 3. So he's only getting 1 while he's doing that. So that kind of does help balance it out. He's not questing for a ton for.
yeah.
I feel
for
like
that.
it's playing a lot off of the 4-drop Jafar.
Mhm.
It being the challenger type, like that's the mentality that it has, and the fact that it does go up to 5,
Mm-hmm.
and the Jafar, the one that we already have in the game, already only goes up to 5 as far as the challenger ability.
It's full
So
strength.
its full strength is 5, but this being a 5/7, it's like it got its full strength, but it's
Because being able
got a
to
lot of
quest and
willpower
then
there
ready
now.
back up and then challenge is strong.
And it's set up where you could have they could have nothing, and you get to quest for free because you can just choose nothing, right? So
Bomb
for
card,
sure.
bomb card,
Yeah.
very powerful,
very very
all
strong.
powerful.
All right, Alex, what's your card?
All right, so my first card, I'm gonna do Goofy, one of the 3 Musketeers. He's gonna be in steel as well.
Okay.
As he
He's gonna
should
be 5 cost inkable. I made his stats 4/4, and I believe all of the Musketeers should have bodyguard.
Okay.
So I'm sticking with bodyguard on him, and he's gonna quest for 1 lore. So he's gonna quest for 1 lore. So that's gonna be his balancing part. Is only being able to quest for 1 lore because most things that cost 5 quest for 2.
Mm.
But he's gonna have, it's all for 1 and 1 for all.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
the saying. So his is 1 for all. So your other Musketeers get +1 willpower while he's on the board. So
Okay.
So he-
Did they say
Mickey-
anything else, or is it just all for 1 and 1 for all?
I don't know.
it's all for 1 and 1 for all.
Dang, Donald Duck is high and dry.
Maybe Donald Duck will be and.
It's the thing that ties them both together.
Goofy just seemed like the one that would buff everyone's willpower. I always remember him, being kind of a shield type character in my head, just from other games too. So
I was about to say.
yes, I know.
Yeah.
From other games too. So he gives the willpower. Mickey will give the buff to the attack, and Donald will.
Is this
sing.
low key becoming a Kingdom Hearts podcast?
No,
They're not Musketeers.
I will die on this hill.
Kingdom
No.
So who's next?
Okay. So for one,
Oh, go.
my
Never
response to that is,
Yeah.
heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Girl.
for sure, for
Because-
sure.
Everyone wants the Musketeers.
Putting it in steel, also, I think it's more fun. Even if it might be a little more powerful, it's more fun because it makes it where you don't have to force a color combination. to have Musketeer synergy.
Yeah.
And you got to consider you're a 4/4, right?
Yes.
So if you have Goofy on turn 5 and then Mickey on turn 6,
Yep.
instead of their stats that you see, Goofy, thanks to Mickey, would become a
5/4.
5/4, and then Mickey would become a 3 or a
2/7.
2/8.
2/8. Yes.
A 2/8 bodyguard.
So big.
Now, them all having bodyguard doesn't mean that they necessarily protect each other. It kind of takes away the bodyguard's like flavor,
Which is
but-
nice because they're like bodyguarding for your other stuff.
Yeah. So putting them all in steel would at least help with we steel bodyguards will stand firm and protect whatever other color ink you have in this deck.
Build a
Because
wall.
you know that if you put Anthem effects like Musketeers in your deck, you would want to put 4 of.
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
Oh, for sure.
So I could see a case where like maybe Steel has these top end Musketeer threats, and then you fill it with like your Amethyst, you steal it with Amber, Sapphire, cheap stuff, and fill it in, and then have your top end Steel bombs that are all Musketeers. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of the bombs. So. And you will see that I'm a big fan of the bombs with my card. My main man, Mufasa, is who I decided to make. I made a Mufasa card that is Mufasa, Brave Father. I wanted to not speak towards the intimidation factor of Mufasa. I wanted to speak towards like what makes him a special character. And what makes Mufasa so special to me is that he's able to have that intimidating presence, but also have the respect and kindness and love as a father. I'm not a father myself, but he's the kind of father I'd want to be, you know? So, as an 8 cost, what would Mufasa want to teach? An 8 cost inkable, mind you.
It's important.
Because it's very important. I recognize this is a balancing factor, but he's a ruby 8 cost 7/6 2 lore bomb. Okay, now 2 lore is the weaker point, but we'll get to that.
So
What
your stats wise, like you go off of Mickey being the 8 drop in the same color. So you got to kind of think about that when you're.
He's not evasive.
Yeah.
But
And
he
he
has
out-
heavier strength and willpower, but he has less lore.
Yep.
So he has to have an ability that I would deem stronger than evasive to make him worthwhile. And I believe this is stronger than evasive. His ability is no one messes with your dad. And it's if Mufasa successfully banishes a character in a challenge, it does not say during your turn or during your opponent's turn, give your other characters +1 strength, +1 willpower, and +1 lore until end of turn.
Holy cow.
So,
Well, I guess if it's on their turn, it doesn't matter as
no,
much.
for the lore, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter as much.
But it does
But
matter about
think
that
about-
+1/+1.
Think about this. I did not give him bodyguard because that would be super mega busted. All right?
And so
He
far,
could.
not on theme with Ruby.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, not on theme with Ruby. Yeah, he's a Ruby card. So I wanted to give him some sort of a challenge-focused aggression, but also intimidating presence. So the way I see this card playing out, you have Mufasa sitting there, ready to go. Even when you play him, he's relevant to your opponent's next turn because they can't challenge him, but they have to consider, boy, I might want to clear their cards right now, or I'm going to have to mess with Mufasa and his whole squad. And on your next turn, you get a chance to challenge with him. Maybe you have effects that like maybe he could get tapped or exerted in another way, but I like to imagine Mufasa can actively challenge into things and then buff your other characters to make them all stronger to be able to either challenge opposing characters or quest for heavier amounts. Or on your opponent's turn, if Mufasa is exerted, it makes them think, well, I really want to get rid of Mufasa because he's a problem. But if I do that, all of their other characters get trickier too to deal with this turn. So, you know,
They would focus him. He
Yeah.
essentially kind of has bodyguard
and
without.
Without
Fla-
having
or
bodyguard.
flavor wise, there is flavor text on the card, and it says, I'm only brave when I have to be and have no other choice. I was scared I might lose you. So, when would your deck be the strongest? Flavorfully, when Mufasa takes out a lot of stuff, but also gets taken out in the process. So, he's kind of stronger
I
than
like
Simba.
it. I like it because he'll be good against those aggro decks because they may have to trade more than 2, you
Mhm.
know?
And you're going to get buff.
And I'd see most of the time, you know, he's going to trade 2 for 1, you know? Either him challenging and buffing on your turn, then their turn they trade,
Yeah.
you know, something else in most of the time. But when you get that extra third value from it, that'd be really strong.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
And
it's
I
overpowered.
like that it's no,
but-
the end of turn is what helps balance it because you can play around it if you play smart, depending on what kind of deck. And there's always Dragonfire. There's always Let
Yeah.
It Go. I mean, and that those cards would be great against this card because the value.
Oh, for sure.
All right, Tyler, what's your card?
Okay, so I made 2, and I'll start with the first one. this time, and then second round I'll do the other one. But so the first one that I have is, we said Disney properties. This is still technically a Disney property. So I did Baymax, Care Provider. So he is a 3 uninkable Ruby. He's a 1/2 hero robot, and his ability is scale from 1 to 10. When this character enters play, remove up to 3 damage counters from target character, and he is a 1 lore. He is a very much against the norm.
Oh, he's healing basically.
Yeah, he's very much against the norm of Ruby, but it plays really well with the second card that I have, and that's the reason why he's there. Now, I do eventually want to like make a shifted version of
I was about
this.
to say,
I didn't.
He's like the perfect character for a shift.
I
like,
didn't.
battle armor.
I didn't get to do one.
Yeah.
But I will eventually. There will be a time where there's going to be.
How much are you hurt from a scale of 1 to 10? You
Yeah,
can heal
yeah.
up to 3.
From
Okay.
From a scale on a scale of from 1 to 10, how do you rate your pain?
Yeah.
What's his flavor text?
So his flavor text says, "I cannot deactivate until you say I am satisfied with my care."
Nice, nice.
That's very
I like
And
that a lot.
so
Gotcha.
I
Oh, wow.
I did spend quite a bit of time like
Yeah.
tinkering with certain cards, and
Yeah.
and I sent a couple of them to Anthony, but and that's for a completely different subject because there was a lot of overpoweredness. If we're gonna talk about overpowered cards, I made a couple.
Yeah.
But no, this one I felt like it was balanced for being just a one lore and only being a 1/2, and also being uninkable. Like that
Yeah.
that makes it. That's the balancing parts of this, and also being a 3 cost, but being a 3 cost that removes up to 3 damage counters. Like that seemed
His
like
Timon is a 1 ink, and he removes up to 1.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
I honestly,
I think it might be a little underpowered.
I think it could be inkable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it could be
I do.
since
I
it
do
only quests for 1 lore and it's only a 1/2. I think it totally could be.
the thing though is the second card really plays around.
Well, we will
with-
keep that in mind.
For those of you who are listening right now, wait until the second round to hear what the second card does, and then you will understand the reason why this is perfectly balanced.
All right. So we are going to wrap up the first round with a quick reminder. We had Jafar, all-powerful Genie from Anthony.
Freaking awesome.
We had Mickey or Goofy Musketeer from Alex.
Heck yeah.
We had Mufasa, Brave Father from Jacob,
I
myself.
loved it.
And we have Baymax, Care Provider from Tyler. So keep that in mind. We are going to move on to our, we're going to split up the card costs or the card creator discussion with the hot takes. So-
Takes 80.
Last episode, we saw a lot of support for the hot takes section. I appreciated it. We all kind of enjoyed coming up with our own little hot takes, but to pare down the segment a little bit, give it a little more focus, less just back and forth on what we think of all hot takes, we're going to do one hot take. So, who has our hot take today?
Funny enough, I do, because apparently everybody really liked to hear Aurora is overhyped as a hot take. So I went one step further. I think
Okay.
that everybody knows that Steel is probably one of the best secondary characters or secondary
Inks.
colors
Yeah.
in the game of Lorcana. I think that after everything is said and done, all the cards have been released, especially for the cards that have been released recently. I think Emerald will eventually take the spot of being the best secondary color. I think the overall cards, what it brings to the table of control, specifically on the control side, because there's plenty of decks that have either ramp or they have the push, like red. Like obviously we already know Ruby Emerald is a good deck. But things like Sapphire with removal, specifically with things like Let It Go, and also just protection on on that side. I think to pair all of that with something that is very control based in what Emerald does, I really think that it's probably the best secondary color to go with things like even Steel. I think it works really well with Steel because we've got an Emerald Steel deck that does pretty well, and
In our playtesting, it's strong.
yeah,
It's good.
So I think Emerald is super overlooked as a easily probably one of the best secondary colors.
So you're saying your hot take is that steel is not the best, most consistent backup color.
I think
emerald is.
I think it's definitely one of the most consistent, but I think
You
emerald,
think once all said and done,
when
with
it's
the first
all said
chapter,
and done,
you're going to see more emerald decks than steel decks, basically.
I think
because
so.
emerald will pair with multiple things.
Okay.
Steel will too, but he's saying that
Okay.
emerald will be number one, basically.
All right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to take the floor for
So
their
I'll
primary argument?
start. My first argument is I think it's kind of funny because, like you said, contradictory. I think the two colors pair very well together.
Oh yeah.
So the bodyguard element plus the small pinging of fire at the cannons is really nice for emerald because then it makes those trades even more complicated. So steel supports emerald really well. However, I will kind of semi-agree. I don't think steel will be the number one. I think it's strong right now because
It has the most cards out.
and it can overwhelm with just its little bit of control. I'm going to lead towards amethyst being it because right now amethyst is proven to be the best card draw and everyone else
Like Magic Mirror. what you're saying.
yeah. So Magic Mirror,
Yeah.
definitely not a good card. Okay, so Friends on the other side, and Maleficent, and those two being able to work hand in hand. I mean, those 4 copies of each card, so those 8 cards can go in like every Amethyst deck. It does
for
not
sure.
matter anything else. You could put those in there. And so far, the draw power that we've seen, and of course, we don't have any Ruby draw power, and we don't have any Emerald, so that will change a lot of things. But it seems like Amethyst is going to have the best card draw, and maybe all the other ones will be a little more restrictive. Maybe, who knows what they'll get, but still being, you have to have no cards in your hand and you can do it, and stuff like that. I see Amethyst being the best support because of the card draw.
Yeah.
Secondary color, not primary, but secondary.
I'm going to attack this hot take from a different angle. Your hot take was saying that Emerald's going to be the best support color, okay? Or the best secondary additive.
Might be the best
thing.
main color.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I believe, based on what we've seen this week especially,
It could be the best.
I think
main color.
Emerald, if they keep this up, I think Emerald could be a very strong mono-colored deck. I think Emerald could say, forget your support. I am the main character.
Yeah.
Emerald is good. However, to speak to your hot take in another way, a secondary color is something that amplifies the effects and gives you more options, helps you maneuver from between your plays more frequently. And I believe that steel is still the strongest color at that and will be, because steel is efficient removal and aggressiveness with cheap cards. And what's more easy to weave into your other plays and be a supportive color? I think steel's cheap removal and steel's cheap challengers weave between the plays of the main characters you're wanting to do in other colors. Steel's good too, it's its own color, but I think bodyguard already lends itself to being a supportive thing. I mean, heck, there's a support keyword in Amber we're not even talking about, but I'm more of a steel secondary guy myself, just because I think Emerald is the show.
So I do want to defend it a little bit.
Okay.
So
You are allowed that
yeah,
in the U.S.
just-
Constitution.
I would like to rebut. So my rebuttal to that is going back to Ruby Emerald.
Okay.
Because this is the reason why I think it's the best support color. Because you look at what Ruby Emerald does, and you look
pick
at
up
what
that starter deck if you're going to Gen Con.
Oh yeah, for sure. Please,
take.
please do. The Emerald deck lends itself the best to supporting exactly what Ruby wants to do. It gives your opponent's characters reckless. They have to challenge into you, so they're obviously going to have damage already done to them. And then it also includes rush, so it's going to give Ruby exactly what it wants in prone targets. It's going to give your opponent the hardest time to deal with, because the moment that any of their characters have reckless, they have to challenge into whatever you have.
Okay.
If they're then on top of that, having the ability to give, say, something like Aladdin, Rush, and all this, because if you're having to play it by itself,
Mhm.
like say
Well,
it's-
Amethyst is giving it
Amethyst
rush.
can give Aladdin Rush right now.
I thought doesn't.
Pocket Watch.
Oh, okay. Wait, I thought. Oh no, that's White Rabbit Pocket Watch.
Mm-hmm.
But
Technically, Emerald can help Aladdin already with
Yeah.
the little Aladdin. So basically,
Yeah.
you come out
Mhm.
shifted
And
Yeah.
Beast.
and a good
And
go.
to
Yeah.
your point, Beast, if the
if
characters are
anything
damaged,
is damaged,
it, can
it
exert them for
automatically
it.
exerts all of them.
I get
So,
that. I
it-
get that.
That color pairing is going to be good.
Yeah.
Emerald
for
lends
sure.
itself to help aggressive colors
Yes.
by laying the traps.
Yeah, and
essentially.
that's part of the reason why in talking about Emerald and Steel, that is exactly what it does. It helps the aggressive deck, and
Yeah.
Steel likes to be aggressive.
All right. Well, that is a good hot take.
Good hot take.
Good hot take. Okay, so that has been the Hot Takes with Hades segment.
Hot takes with Hades. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. All right. So we're gonna go to the second round of Create a Card. Anthony, why don't you start us off again with your Create a Card round 2 candidate?
All right, so this one Tyler made.
Yes. Wait, did
You're
I
gonna
send you
get
the
double
corrected
dip,
one?
Tyler.
Did I send you the corrected one? Okay, I did send you the corrected one. Okay.
All right, so this one is a
That could have been bad.
3-cost inkable emerald called Sora's.
Wait a second. Is that a Kingdom Hearts card?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Oh my
couldn't
gosh.
keep me out of it, my guy. You, couldn't
I had
keep
to
me
do
out
something
of
to Kingdom
it.
Hearts.
We're
'cause
gonna
you know my
allow
hot
this
take.
to be read. The floor will allow this to be read, but this is your final warning.
Ravensburger, if you're watching, we need these promos apparently. 10 years from now when Kingdom Hearts 4
No,
comes
sir.
out.
Yeah.
2 years.
No, 10.
2
Kingdom
years.
Hearts 4.
Okay, read your card, please.
All right, Sora's Keyblade Chosen. It's a 2/2. Its ability is Best of Friends. Oh, it's one lore. Best of Friends. When this card enters play, add one Donald or Goofy character from your deck to your hand, then shuffle your deck.
There's already, that can go with any Donald and any Goofy, and there's already
Yeah.
multiple Goofies or multiple
Okay.
Donalds.
First of all,
There might be multiple.
I don't play
Oh.
that game, but I do like the flavor. But that's about it. Because I don't like the direction.
It's a 3 cost.
Just to quickly wrap up the point. You know what? Before I say that, Anthony, why don't you go ahead and defend your card or speak to what you like about your card here?
I mean, I just like that it's Kingdom Hearts card. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I want to give you a chance.
I'm right
I
there
wanna
with
give you a
man.
chance to
I'm
lay
right there with
every
you.
And then the
single-
2 other non-Kingdom Hearts for this game, guys, we'll talk.
I don't want to paint myself as a hater.
Yeah,
Okay.
I played the
I don't-
game.
I don't
at
want
least
people.
1 or 2 of them, and I enjoyed them.
I did not play the game, but I don't want people to paint me like, oh, he hates everything Kingdom Hearts. What an uncultured swine. But I just want to say,
I mean, I didn't say that. You said
speaking to the card text alone, you could call that Mickey Mouse if you wanted to. Make
Oh,
it
for sure.
completely Disney themed. Because you said Donald or Goofy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It could
Right.
literally be Mickey Mouse. I mean, that'd be fair. Speaking
King
to
Mickey.
the card text itself, I do not really care for the idea of tutors in the game. Here's why. It's one reason. It's not because they lend you towards building combo decks. Combo decks or whatever. You're always going to have combos. It's that they add time to the game and they add decision making to the game that takes a long time, especially for new players. If you give a new player a deck with Sora in it and they play Sora and they say, okay, I can get a Donald or a Goofy card. Well, let me look at my 60 cards here and try to find which one do I even want? What's best for the situation right now? And then 15 minutes later, they've played a card. And then 5 minutes after that, they realize they got the wrong one. So tutors lend themselves to a lot of time. It's like a lot of cards that ask you to shuffle your deck. It takes up time. And I don't think that's really new player friendly.
Yeah, I don't mind the tutors as long as it's a specific tutor. So like getting a Goofy or a Donald, you know the 60 cards in your deck most likely unless you're borrowing a deck, which that could be the case. But you're normally going to be limited to 2 or 3 options maybe at most. So I like that it is limited. And if you make the wrong choice, you make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
The time part does get old, especially if it happens, if there's a ton of tutors.
Yeah.
But I could easily see this saying go get like a specific Goofy or a specific Donald, even just one other card.
And if
almost
I would
kinda
have
like,
made that, I would
partner.
have done that.
Yeah, partner in Commander. It goes and gets a specific
card,
that
yeah.
tutors like that. Even
Yeah,
if the
I can see that.
shuffling's in the game, it's like, or we have a Mickey Mouse that says go get a certain something,
Yeah.
one of those things. Go get Goofy,
That
Musketeer.
eliminates the decision making.
Eliminates
I was
the decision
talking
where
about.
you pull that card, you put it in your hand, and you shuffle it up. Even though I don't like the extra shuffling.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm like, yeah,
All right, well,
time-wise.
Kingdom Hearts or not, we can call that a Mickey Mouse if we want to for the means of
Yeah, but the shift ones are much better.
voting. Okay. Well, teaser for Tyler's new blog about Kingdom Hearts cards.
Oh my gosh. I don't have enough time to make a blog, man.
Thank you,
We
Anthony,
just
for
need to-
giving us the Sora card. Alex,
Let me devote
what
an
is
entire
your
podcast
card
episode
for
that.
round 2?
Okay, so my card is going to be an Amber Song card.
Ooh.
It is going to be an 8-cost uninkable.
Oh.
An uninkable is for the balance,
Mm.
but
Because I know
it is
what
a
it
song.
does.
An 8 is anything 8? Nothing in Amber is even 8 cost right now.
Oh, no.
Well, yes,
Hades.
Hades is
Hades could sing this.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's funny enough that you did a 8-cost Mufasa in Ruby, but
wow.
this card is the Circle of Life.
Oh,
So Mufasa could technically sing the song
It's
or
a
another 8-cost.
circle of life.
So of course, since it's being a song card, it can be sung with 8 or more cost by exerting it, and then the effect is because the reanimation player inside of me is dying for a reanimation card.
yeah.
Return all character cards that cost 2 or less from your discard pile to the battlefield exerted.
Wait a second.
All 2 or less.
From both players' discards?
No, from your
Okay.
discard pile. So
Oh, God.
Amber
Okay, I was about to
tends to
say.
lean itself to a lot of small characters,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
what's like Stitch. So this being a top end, you don't have to play 4 of them. Play 1 or 2 of them, and then you drop it. They all come out, but they're exerted, so they don't work with Stitch because that would be absolutely busted if they
my
all came
gosh.
in unexerted.
Yeah.
And
oh,
then,
man.
So I did try to balance the card
Yeah.
really hard with that. I really want to make it inkable, but every single card that brings back cards currently is uninkable with Hades and with Part of Your World.
Need some risk.
So I had to make it uninkable, but I really wanted to make it inkable because it really pained me. But
Okay.
that being to get, and it's all 2 costs or less because 3 costs, I started thinking about, well, I could get Maleficent back and then you're drawing a card. I was like, 2 costs seemed like a good line from it. And coming back exerted means, well, they can't really do anything on your turn. Your opponent can deal with them. Or
Just
if they
you
don't
wait.
deal with them, boom.
Oh, I love the card. And thematically, it's beautiful because everything returns. It's a circle. It's a circle. No corners. So I love it thematically. The fact that they come back exerted, very fair. If it's inkable, busted. Don't print that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
uninkable. That's
the fact that we don't know anything other than Hades that's 8 cost means that sucker's probably getting paid for. And I do like the flavor that, returning resources from your graveyard's a tricky situation because immediately you think, well, am I going to get 8 ink worth of characters back from this? Well, it doesn't matter because they were dead. So
Exactly.
they're coming back. So even if you get 4 1-cost things and it's only 4 inks worth of characters, you didn't account for having those characters anyways. Yep. They're just back and questing next turn. So deal with them
and your
now.
opponent didn't account for them either because you could have no board. I really wanted a card that could swing it back in your favor late game. Say you've exhausted all your resources. They've banished so many of your characters, and
But
then
the
you
thing
play
with that,
this,
though-
and then if they aren't prepared for it, it could swing a game back instantly.
With the thing with that though is I think the thing that we're not talking about at this point is the fact that yes, it is a song card. Hades is a shift character.
You
It
can play
is
it on
a
turn
shift
7.
6.
You could play this on 7.
Yeah.
No, at 6.
Yeah.
You
it's
could
a
play this
si-
on 6.
You could play that turn 6,
Which
and
would be
if
awesome.
everything just went horribly. Shift on turn 6, and then boop.
But see,
I'm gonna play all the
technically,
1-drops.
and technically, when you think about it, having this and Hades in your hand would normally feel bad unless you have the other Hades on the battlefield.
Yep.
But that's why I had to make it uninkable. There was no way to make it inkable and it be balanced
Yeah.
at all.
No, for sure. For sure.
Well, that brings us actually kind of ironically to my card for round 2 is also a Lion King song.
Hey.
It is
Great-
inkable
great
though.
songs,
It
great
is
songs.
inkable though. It is a Sapphire song that is 6 cost inkable. The song is Be Prepared. So it's Scar's
Yeah,
song.
we'll be prepared for what?
So be prepared for this card text. So
It's definitely not the death of the
Scar's
king.
song has to be singable by Scar, right?
Which is one of the weird things about Friends on the Other Side.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
to
Dr.
bring that up
Facilier
because it
can't
makes
sing
me
it.
so mad that he can't sing his
They'll
own
make
card.
us another one.
Yep,
but-
they need to.
For now,
Oh, gosh, they do need to.
Scar, as a 6 cost character, can sing this 6 cost song. But you're wondering, Jacob, what the heck is it?
What is it, Jacob?
It is a song that says, until the end of your next turn, his turn, your opponent's turn, and your next turn. Until the end of your next turn, draw a card each time a character is banished, and your characters get +2 strength.
Holy cow.
Here's the thinking. I built this card flavorfully, and here's why. What does being prepared mean? Being prepared means that you can take any challenge, right?
Right.
Well, with +2 strength, you can take any challenge, and you're gonna leave some bodies behind you. So, here's the deal with this card. I wanted it to be both a proactive and reactive card. If I just make it draw a card each time a character's banished, it leaves the door open for no one to get banished because your opponent doesn't quest with anything or doesn't challenge with anything. Well, how do I make it more proactive? Well, I could give myself +2 strength so that I could use it proactively to buff my characters and swing on the turn that I play this and remove more stuff, or use it proactively as get +2 strength, as in you don't want to mess with my stuff when I quest with it or while I leave it exerted, because it's going to hurt a lot more to swing into my stuff. But that doesn't change the fact that you still want to leave the door open to being prepared for questing scenarios. Being prepared for questing scenarios means, how do you eliminate the risk of questing? Questing leaves your characters exerted, open to challenges. If they're going to challenge into you to remove you, well, they're going to have to give you a card for it. For each character that gets this buff, because this doesn't say, I'm not sure on the balance of this, if this like is like a board-wide effect for like new characters I play next turn or whatever, but I'm just saying.
Probably not. It would probably see everything that's on the battlefield.
Notably,
turn.
this says each time a character is banished, not one of your characters is banished.
Yeah, that's the busted part, I think.
Okay, maybe it's overpowered, but I love it.
Right now, I'm throwing it in the over.
When I made this card, I thought to
right
myself, God, I'm getting chills. It's so good. But my line of thinking was, I quest with all my stuff, or I sing this action, leave it exerted, but say, hey, if you want to attack into me, I'm going to get a card out of it. It could be a refresh in the later game because it's 6 cost. For all the characters you have, whenever they get removed, get some refill action for your hand. And because it says the opponent's characters banished and get you a card, it also lends itself to more aggressive decks that have built up a board at this point to say, hey, I'm going to swing into your stuff after playing this action, and I'm going to get like 3 cards because I'm about to remove all your stuff with my buffed up dudes. So I did not have room on the card for flavor text, but I just want to, say that the flavor text of the card was supposed to say, I know it may be sorted, but you'll be rewarded. So it may be mischievous or evil, but you'll be rewarded for it. So be prepared. 6 cost Sapphire Inkable song.
That's pretty
I
good.
love the flavor and everything, and I think for the most part it's pretty balanced. The only thing I could see is it being, whenever you banish, when your character's banish, you draw a card, and then maybe to help it out for your opponent's turn, instead of a +2, because that's going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of a +2, maybe a +1/+1. Plus, you get a buff in your willpower and in your strength.
Okay.
So you do have that. Well, now I got a big buff, big booty as well. So something like that. But the main part would be
this time.
banishing on
Your opponent's
turn and get to draw a card. I'd just be like, well, I guess I can't do anything.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm prepared. So that's the thing.
Or even saying like until the end of your opponent's next turn.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
they could just quest, leave all your stuff up, just quest out, and on your turn you don't get to draw the cards, but they couldn't challenge anything.
I guess one thing I wanted to keep in mind, because I thought about that. I
Yeah.
thought about that scenario. I was like, well, what if they just quest? They want to quest anyways.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, if they quest, I want this card to have usefulness next turn.
Right.
Because I'm prepared for that too.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to keep in mind
It can
that
be an overpowered card. That's okay.
as a matter of being prepared for anything, I also kept in mind that this takes into account being removed by actions. Because if my character gets removed by actions like Dragonfire, I'm also prepared for that. I get a card.
Holy cow.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Stuff has to get banished for it to happen. Maybe I should change it. That's overpowered, probably. Whatever.
I know mine
definitely
definitely
gonna fall into that overpowered section.
Okay.
man.
That was awesome.
Tyler,
That's
what
an
is your
awesome
card?
though.
Okay, so going back to Big Hero 6, I have Hiro Himada, Tech Genius. He is a 2 inkable Sapphire card with he's 1/2 Storyborn hero with 1 lore, and his ability is Micro Genius. After this character quests, reduce the cost of a Baymax by 1.
Oh.
So that I feel like he's balanced,
Mm-hmm.
and it balances out the other Baymax, but it also makes the Baymax really good because now you're playing a 2-drop.
It's a 1/2 lore.
That's a 2. I think it's a 1/2 or it's a 1 lore, but you're playing a 1-drop or 2-drop that now heals a character for 3.
Yeah.
Like that. I felt like that was really good. And the flavor text is, I am so good at this. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Whoops. And it's that moment where him and Tadashi are on the back of that scooter. He's like, I can't do it. There's nothing. There's nothing I can do that's wrong. We're golden. And they get stopped by the cops.
Well, I do think it's interesting too that he could question if you have 2 of them, you could make Baymax 2 less, or 3 of them you could make Baymax 2 less.
Having multiples plays really well for that. And I also want to point out that at some point I would like this idea to also lower the shift cost.
Okay.
Because
it should.
Yeah,
It will.
Technically,
Yeah,
if
it
it
will.
lowers the cost
It
of
lowers
a
the shift.
Baymax, it lowers the shift cost.
Shift
That
cost.
is how it works.
Yes.
Okay, so that
Because they've
Then-
clarified that with like Lantern and stuff.
yeah, so I think that lends itself to being a very, very good card long term. Because I want this to eventually be a shift form thing
Gotcha.
that also plays well with Baymax.
Well,
Yeah,
But
because the shift makes even more sense because right now you're like lowering Baymax to a 2 cost,
But he is a 2
but
cost.
he's
He's a 2 cost.
a
is
2
a 2
cost.
cost.
So it doesn't, they don't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for curve wise.
yeah,
But also I could see Hiro even having like a 1/3 or something like that because Baymax can heal up to 3.
And-
so if they do 2 on him,
Yeah.
then Baymax could heal him as soon as he comes out
and,
next turn.
and I think part of the
I like
reason
that.
why
I would
like
say
that.
1/3 or 2 lore, personally.
yeah, I think
know it's-
1, 2, and 2 lore is probably the better idea. I was trying to make him balanced with Baymax because I felt like if I made
like it.
if I made
I
him
like it
too
too.
strong on the back end on willpower or on
Mhm.
on willpower, I felt like I was going to do too much.
Yeah.
And he does have not a whole lot of survivability because obviously fire the cannons is the
Yeah.
thing, but I felt like he was just balanced enough where eventually when I do create a shift form of this, that I'm not going to make it overpowered. I'm going to try
Yeah.
very hard, but the eventuality is to make it a little bit easier. But yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up our create a card round. And just as a quick reminder, we will be making polls for what we have as the most overpowered, most balanced, and best flavor. I think the candidates should be pretty obvious on most overpowered, apparently.
Yeah.
well,
for
there's-
sure.
I mean, there's one candidate, but there could be multiple candidates.
No, there's multiple candidates, I guess.
I'm just saying there's one obvious candidate. Then there
Alright.
could be.
We will decide amongst ourselves for nominations.
But hey,
as
we
far
can be
as the-
prepared for that.
Yeah, we will be prepared. You will always be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
So what we'll
Be
do
prepared to be
is for our
overpowered.
polls, we will just have our own internal 3 picked, and then the 4th slot for the poll will be your own vote in the comments. It's actually
For sure.
or intent, like whatever you think is the most overpowered in the overpowered poll. If we didn't put it, you can tell us in the
Yeah,
replies.
you can hit the 4th option
Yeah.
and then tell us which one in the comments.
Mhm. All right. So that leads us to our mailbag section.
Woohoo!
And we do have 2 questions today. Our questions are from technically the same people. Two of the same people that asked last week. But
Definitely
hey,
the most active.
as
people
far as
I
I'm
know.
saying, good for them. They are listening, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate their involvement. So we're going to get one more chance at getting this guy's name right. All right? I think he deserves it. He said we were okay for not getting it right. Even his family doesn't get it right sometimes.
Which is hilarious.
I'm going to go ahead and try
It
a
is.
different way just in case this is right. So, Nick, if we get it right this time, let me know.
We're
All
going
right?
to keep trying, Nick,
I'm gonna
until
keep
we get it
trying.
right.
We're gonna try every
I'm
time.
going to say it's Nick Gagalis. That's
Okay.
what I'm going to say. I'm going
Okay,
to give the
Nick.
second syllable emphasis.
Let us know, Nick.
What did we say last time? Gigalus?
Gi-
We said
yeah,
Gagalis.
Oh, yeah, I said, yeah,
Gagalis,
Gagalis.
yeah.
I'm just going to say
Gagalis.
Nick Gagalis.
Gigalus.
If that's what it
Gagalis.
is. Anthony, how about you read Nick's question for us?
All right. So, if there's another synergy deck led by an Amber character we haven't seen, who and what do you think it would be? Either in this set or a future one. I'd have to imagine there will be a Prince deck, but I'm looking forward to what else you think of. Allies, sorcerers, or Dreamborn / Floodborn / Storyborn would be fun too.
That's a great question, Nick.
Great question.
Great question. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and take the answer here. I'll lead the charge on the question. So you kind of referenced that we haven't seen, because we both know that Hades kind of does what you're talking about too, not just Stitch with low cost and not just Moana with princesses. Hades has the villain stuff. But here's what I was thinking. I think it'd be really cool because the character's already referenced on LeFou. I think Gaston could be a wonderful character to be an ally-focused character. Yes, he is a
with
villain.
Allies, that's a good idea.
Because what is Gaston known for other than, I think we kill the beast? He said we.
Inciting riot.
Yes.
Yeah, he gets all the allies together, try to go take out the beast.
He riles up a crowd and gets something done. Now,
Nothing's more fun, too. I just want to add to it because I like your idea a lot. Nothing's more fun than having like a bunch of allies, because normally the allies are kind of the weaker cards and something to support them all.
Yeah.
It's like, that 1/2/2 that's vanilla,
And
he's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
funny enough
Thanks
that
to
you say
Gaston.
support, because if Gaston is the hero of all allies, or the villain of all allies, he's bringing a chicken with him.
hey will be in the deck. Amber, like you suggested, Nick, currently has a ton of allies.
They are the
bunch.
character kind of theme deck. I mean,
So,
Ink.
because LeFou, as an ally himself, a 2-cost ally that says that your Gaston costs 1 less, or I think he costs
LeFou?
1 less
LeFou
if
costs 1
Gaston is out. The thing is, Gaston, I could see easily if he's wanting to incite riots and build allies up for his own intentions. Gaston could be a very powerful card by giving all allies extra strength. All right, so it's if LeFou says if you have a character named Gaston in play, you may pay 1 less to play this character. So he's questing for 2 as
Question
well.
for 2.
LeFou's very good if Gaston's on board. So with Gaston, let's say if you have him, all allies get +1 strength. That would immediately be good because it'd make all those 1 ink 2/2s,
Let's make
3/2s.
it busted. +1/+1.
+1/+1, yeah.
Oh
Make
my
him the
gosh.
feature.
Just
And
an anthem for them all. That'd be crazy.
I think it'd be super flavorful if they made Gaston cost 3. Because what could he... The Beast is Mine is not a song. Dang it. I was thinking he would work perfectly with The Beast is Mine, giving him Reckless. But Gaston
Errata
should
the card.
definitely... Errata the card. Make it a song. Gaston should definitely pump up allies to
Yes.
incite a crowd, incite violence,
I love it.
whatnot. All right. So that brings us to our next question. This question is on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @ReadySetDrawTCG. The mailbag
Come and check us
question
out.
on Twitter was from Citizens of Lorcana.
Love that guy.
He says, in what scenarios would a card like Magic Mirror be useful? For those of you who don't know, Magic Mirror is a meme card, but also one of Jared's favorite cards. And I commend him. I love pet cards. It's a great thing to have. But that's Jared's pet card. So
it's not good. Just skip this part and don't play the card. All right.
I want to give a real answer.
You can put it
I
in your
tried.
fire.
I tried.
That's a way of using it.
So-
Keep
Play it that
yourself
way.
warm until like 5 years when it becomes good because they play another card. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, boom, there you go.
You're playing the wrong game.
So I'm sorry, Jared, for my friends here. You have to have item synergy to make a card like Magic Mirror worthwhile. That's the point I want to drive home. You have to have other stuff that buffs it up because
Something that lowers that freaking
Yeah, lower it.
activation
Yeah.
cost.
Well, you do
So-
with Bell.
Bell lowers the price
Price
to play the card.
Yeah, but that is nice. But I get what you're saying. The activation
Yeah.
cost.
So here's
there has to be something that lowers activation because paying 4 to draw a card is not good.
well,
We figured that out when
yes.
we have friends on the other side. You pay 3 or you sing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the main
You get
reason
two.
that it comes off as weaker is because Amethyst has so much other better
Yeah.
card draw.
Yeah.
So if it was like in a different color, I could see. Ruby and Emerald have 0
Yeah.
card draw. I could see if it was like a different color, they'd be like, you got to have card draw.
Well,
So,
I think Citizens
I like
of
that.
Lorcana
I like that.
answered his own question in a way on Twitter as well earlier. And I noticed one of his replies to another Magic Mirror post he made because he makes a lot of Magic Mirror posts. Was that maybe
Is that a meme in and
he
of
said
itself?
the good queen Grimhilda, but I'm saying the evil queen. Maybe the evil queen could reduce the cost to activate
Dang it,
item
you beat me
abilities.
to my thought, man. I straight up. I straight up thought that, like 100%.
Well,
I
he
was
suggested it
I was
himself,
sitting it over
so I
here
wanted to
and
give
was
him
like,
credit.
I want to give him credit because I could think you could make it busted. Like it could legit say magic mirror costs 0.
Oh,
It's
that's
free
true.
to exert.
Yeah.
But you have to have that. You have to have 2 cards in your
Well,
deck in play.
It works perfectly
Yeah.
with the Evil Queen because she's already going to be an amethyst.
If
It's
that's
already
the case,
known.
it's playable. You can put it in your deck.
yeah,
So
100%.
If Grimhilda,
Put
if-
4 of them things in there, you're good.
it could be the witch form or it could be the Evil Queen form. Either way, if she had text that was like, I don't know, something that you could play like a 1-cost Evil Queen villain that was a 1/1 and it said that your activated abilities of items cost 1 less, that would be perfectly fine because then you could just play multiple of them.
I'm looking for
and
that
make it super
poison
cheaper.
apple item card that specifically says
Well,
that
Yeah,
that
I think she should have that synergy.
you pay 3 and tap it and you deal 2 damage to a particular card. Like I think but it's an item. It's reusable.
Mhm.
I think that would be wonderful in that color for
Yeah.
that particular setup. Like I think it's perfect because then it gives Amethyst what it doesn't have, control.
Well, I think that kind of speaks to the true answer of the question. We have to go to a lot of work to make it the magic mirror work. And that kind of wraps up the final question of the mailbag. So we will send out another tweet this following week with the mailbag opportunity to ask questions that we can answer live on the show.
Yeah.
We appreciate all the questions people ask, and we appreciate you listening to this episode. Tyler, why don't you send us out?
Yeah, so if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all of the love and support that we've gotten from the community, and we continue to try and give back to the community with content and obviously bringing questions from you guys onto our channel and being able to answer fun and interesting things that you guys like to send to us, even meme-worthy things such as Magic Mirror. So if you could, do the things that you know that you do with YouTube. We love you guys, and this Ready Set Live signing out.